Imagine the world is a stage, and you're just a piece of the set. Imagine elections, freedom, rights, nothing but a play, staged for those who'll never peek behind the curtain. Now imagine, deep beneath the ultimate symbol of freedom, 6 levels below the White House, something has been built, something you never suspected. Laboratories, machines, consciousness resonators, and in 2027, they'll activate a mechanism that will forever alter your perception of reality. No war, no shots fired, no resistance. You won't even realize you've changed. But if you're watching this, it's not too late. The White House isn't yours anymore. Come with us underground. Uncover what they're hiding, while you still have the power to think for yourself. They always told you that the White House was a symbol of freedom. They taught you to look at its white facade as the embodiment of people's power. But they never showed you what was underneath that facade. The official plans for the White House end at the basement. But already in 1942, the FBI, on Roosevelt's direct orders, classified the construction of the first level of underground structures. The public explained this as sheltering from air raids. But no one explained why construction continued deeper, even after the end of World War II. By 1963, at least 6 underground levels had already been identified beneath the White House. All mention of them has been purged from the public records. The employees who worked on the lower floors signed contracts obliging them to remain silent until their deaths, under threat of immediate liquidation through natural causes. You were deceived. There are no simple shelters under the White House. There are entire cities there. And this is not a guess. In 2011, an anonymous source associated with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers leaked part of a classified project, codenamed Citadel. The documents described an independent energy system fed from deep artesian wells, clean class laboratories where people are forbidden to appear without special, full bioprotection suits, hangars the size of a football field, equipped with unknown equipment. A zone called Level Black was located on the 5th level, according to this data. Only people with ultraviolet clearance had access to it. A level of secrecy that officially does not exist. And here is the most interesting part. The drawings showed something that was labeled the seat, a cylindrical object surrounded by a massive defense system built in the shape of a perfect torus. This is where, according to the emergency override protocol, any U.S. president must be moved in the event of a zeroing scenario. But what is a zeroing scenario? And why is the seat located below the water table, where the ground is saturated with ancient salts? The answer is in classified CIA instructions from 1958. It talks about a project codenamed Project Genesis, a project you weren't supposed to be told about. Project Genesis was more than just an evacuation plan. It was an attempt to create a restart point for civilization in the event of a catastrophe, including a deliberately caused one. They built more than a bunker under the White House. They built a womb for the new elite there. That's why the real entrances to the White House dungeons were never shown on public plans. That's why even presidents only get partial information about what's under their feet. And when John Kennedy first tried to get full access to these levels in 1962, he was denied. He was officially told that the information was outside his area of responsibility. A year later, he was gone. A coincidence? And now the main thing. Recent leaks, leaked through independent engineers, indicate that work is actively underway on the 6th level related to rewriting DNA. The technologies that were banned by international conventions in the early 2000s have not disappeared. They have gone down underground, where there is no constitution, where there are no human rights, where a new world is being built without your consent. You are standing on the land of freedom. And something completely different is growing under your feet. Let's continue, deeper and darker. You should know, when rumors of the SEED protocol first appeared, even within the U.S. intelligence services, it was considered a joke. SEED protocol sounded too mystical, but archival notes accidentally opened in private collections in 1997 revealed a new side to the conspiracy. SEED stands for Subterranean Elite Emergency Development, and it ran parallel to the official history of America. The project involved creating a closed population of selected, genetically modified, to adapt to future global cataclysms, climate change, radiation, the disappearance of sunlight, and yes, all this was supposed to happen underground. According to these documents, the 6th level of the White House houses incubators for growing embryos in an accelerated cycle, genome modification laboratories, archives of ideal behavior patterns created by analyzing millions of U.S. citizens. The most shocking part, every time you are offered a genetic test for health or heredity, your data goes there, to the closed archives under the White House. They collect genes, and they select, but they do not select the best in terms of morality or intelligence. They are looking for specific traits: submission, the ability to adapt without critical thinking, a genetic predisposition to collective consciousness. You are taught that the future is individualism, but the true future, which is being built there under 6 layers of concrete and lead, is a future of absolute control. The SEED program is divided into 3 phases: harvest, material collection, completed, purify, filtering and optimization of the genome, active stage. Bloom is a mass awakening of a new generation. Bloom is planned for the moment when the surface civilization can no longer maintain economic or ecological stability. Then the hatches will open, and the new people rising to the surface will not be like us. They will be cleaner, calmer, more perfect, and they will not remember the Constitution, nor rights, nor freedom, because their freedom will be rewritten in their genes. And now, details that have been officially denied, but which persistently emerge in secret reports. There is a transport network under the White House, known as the wormhole. The tunnel system connects the White House with the Pentagon, the Library of Congress, a secret facility in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Movement along the wormhole is carried out on silent magnetic platforms. Speed up to 300 miles per hour. The technology is not officially registered with any U.S. patent office. It is through this network that the covert import of equipment, embryos, and genetic samples is carried out. No regular civilian aircraft, no federal agency records these movements. You may be thinking, if this is true, why did no one raise the alarm? Because every attempt at investigation ended with the initiators disappearing. Journalists, researchers, engineers, everyone who came close to the secret of the White House levels either disappeared without a trace or suddenly changed careers, disappearing from view forever. Their families signed NDAs with the government under threat of imprisonment. Their traces were erased so thoroughly that after 2 generations, no one remembered them. You were taught to believe that in the center of Washington, there is the power of the people. But the real power is deeper, under 6 levels of concrete, under 6 levels of lies, under 6 levels of silence. And now you know more than you want to know. The seat is not just a throne, not a safe haven for the president, not a command center in an emergency. It is an anchor for the launch of a new era. From the leaked fragments of the construction project in 2023, it became clear. The seat is a biotech interface designed to merge the consciousness of a chosen operator with the control systems of SEED. what we thought of as the elite, those who control the processes, were only preparation for the activation of a single entity. A person who will not just be a person, but a system. The SID operator will connect to a drone control network, distributed computing centers, closed communication channels between all U.S. bases. His thoughts will become commands. His decisions will be orders that will be carried out without discussion. And once this system is activated, humanity will no longer be able to regain control of its own destiny. Why 2027? Because in 2027, the current clearance cycle of global human population data reserves ends. And then the bloom phase should begin. This is the year that the White House plans to conduct a total modernization of communication systems. The official version is to improve cybersecurity, but the real goal is to connect the seat to the global nerve center. Documents leaked from a private security company servicing government facilities clearly indicate the act of commissioning the underground architecture of Status F0, which provides for the complete shutdown of civilian channels upon activation of the Seed Prime Protocol, is scheduled for July 2027. That is when Americans will first see how the familiar communication system begins to fail, how digital fingerprints of a person will be suddenly updated, how banking systems, transportation, access to medicine will be tied to new, invisible control centers. And all of this will be controlled by one person, or rather, what will be left of him after the merger. And now the facts that no one will show you on CNN. In 2022, the White House spent $1.6 billion to expand the backup command infrastructure, but not a single new communication tower was built. In 2023, the composition of the National Security Council suddenly changed. 7 of the 13 members were replaced by people with experience in neuroscience and genetics, and not in the military or political sphere. Since 2024, the number of drill evacuations in schools and universities across the country has sharply increased. But all of them were carried out without notifying the media. In April 2025, signs of speech filtering first appeared on cellular networks in the Washington area. These are not accidents. This is preparation. And now, the last one. Why exactly under the White House? Why not in a secret military base, not in Antarctica, not on the moon? Because the White House is a symbol, archetype, a meme that lives in the collective consciousness of the planet as an image of power. By launching a new control center right here, they are creating an energy matrix in which the new world domination will seem natural, historically justified. This is not just a technological revolution. This is a change in the very essence of freedom, at the level of perception. Now you know the truth. The White House is not the president's house. It is a gate. They will open it, and they will not let us close it. Let's dive even deeper. What you thought were the decorative elements of the White House are not just decorations. They are marks, encrypted messages for the initiated. Since the laying of the first stone of the White House in 1792, the architecture of the building included secret symbols known only to selected members of closed orders. William Thornton, the official author of the project, was only the face. The real drawings belonged to James Hoban, a high-level Mason and a member of a secret brotherhood that existed even before the founding of the United States. And every element of the White House since then bears a trace. The northern colonnade is designed according to the principles of the golden ratio, but with a deviation of 6.66%. The location of the windows of the Oval Office corresponds to the star chart on the date of July 4th, 1776. but taking into account the precession of the time of Atlantis. The central dome, although it is not officially above the building, is embedded in the underground levels and exactly repeats the structure of the domes of Roman temples, designed for energy accumulation. These details are not accidents. They activate resonant fields at certain moments, enhancing the energy feeding of those standing on the seat. The most important symbols, the rose and the pentagram. The internal corridors of the first level are built in such a way that when the map is superimposed, a pentagram is created, crossed by lines in the shape of a rose. The pentagram symbolizes man. The rose is a secret society hiding the truth from the profane. The Lafayette obelisk, a secretly installed sign in the park opposite the White House. It is not just a monument. It is a frequency transmitter that synchronizes the internal energy nodes of the building with the wormhole, a network of tunnels. The White Room, traditionally perceived as a hall for official receptions. But if you activate a certain acoustic wave, frequency 111 Hz, the room begins to resonate, opening a hidden passage to a spiral staircase leading downwards. What does this mean for us? When the seed system is activated, the White House will begin to act as an antenna, directing the collective consciousness through hidden resonant fields, and you will not even feel it directly. But suddenly you will catch yourself thinking more correctly, more conveniently, more disciplinedly. You will think that this is your choice, but the reality will be different. How do you know that the process has already begun? The signs will be subtle, but absolute. A sharp change in the White House night lighting, with a switch to monochrome lights. Strange standing waves in the radio range of 7.83 Hz, recorded in the surrounding area. A feeling of time freezing when passing by the building, even for tourists. Mass memory failures when mentioning certain details of official excursion routes. And when this happens, consider the point of no return past. The White House is no longer a symbol of freedom. It has become a portal of governance. Power will no longer be needed by laws, elections, or the army. Power will be built right into your brain, and you will not even understand when it happened. Let's continue. Are you ready to hear where those who now rule the world will disappear too? When the seed system is activated, the old elites will disappear. Not in a figurative sense. They will literally leave this world. Plan B, known under the code name Elysium Transition, was developed back in 1989 as part of the top-secret Solar Warden project. And while the whole world was distracted by the Cold War, the relocation of factories to Asia, and the rapid development of technology, the real elite was building an exit for themselves. Not for everyone, only for the chosen ones. Where will they go? According to leaks from the 2020s, the Elysium transition involves the relocation of a narrow circle of carriers of ancestral codes to objects off-planet. Yes, you heard right. We are talking about a platform known as Arc-9, an autonomous station in low Earth orbit, hidden in the shadow sector near the moon. Data from independent astronomers indicates an object with a variable mass signature has been recorded since 2016. Its movement does not match known satellites. Signals are regularly sent in its direction from closed government zones of the state of Nevada. Why did the elite choose to leave? Because they know, from the moment the SIT is activated, old humanity will become redundant. Global structures will be rebooted. The economy will collapse into a single digital unit of account, and the entire social contract of you work, you get, will disappear. Their goal is not to rule post-humanity. Their goal is to separate from it. What does Plan B look like in detail? 1-200 selected families are prepared to be loaded onto Arc-9. Their gene pools have been cleaned through closed artificial insemination programs over the last 30 years. Duplicate copies of their consciousness are gradually transferred into cryocapsules for a soft start in new habitats, while we are shown SpaceX rockets and children's shows about Mars. The real program is going along a different line. And yes, this is not a project for the future. According to the latest leaks, the first mass transport transition is planned for November 2026. What will happen to us? Those who remain on Earth will not be exterminated. This is the insidiousness of the plan. You will simply be rewritten. New regulations, new biometric passports, new levels of access to reality. And if you do not pass the filtering by behavioral stability indices, you will be cut off from financial services, from medical care, from the right to move. You will remain in a city that will be physically the same, but legally and informationally, you will find yourself in a void. And the worst thing is that most will not even realize that they have become prisoners, because the prison will be digital, and its walls will be invisible. This is the true tragedy of the Seed Project. The elites are leaving the Earth, and those who remain are not killed, but programmed to obey. And it has already begun. Right now, while you are reading these lines, the digital structure of the world is being rebuilt around you, like a cage that is being built from the outside. But the key is thrown inside. And if you believe that all this is just a theory, ask yourself one question. Why does every new security law cut you off from the right to choose? And why does no one ask for your consent anymore? Because the scenario has already been launched, and the time to make a choice is almost up. Now comes the most important part. What to do when all the doors close. When the Seed Project reaches full activation in 2027, most people won't even have a chance to realize what happened. The world will change smoothly, to the music of the news, to the smiles of politicians, to the endless updates of applications. But for those who understand, there is still a way out. And it begins with 3 simple truths. Your passport will become your prison. All biometric documents from 2025 carry hidden layers of data about preferences, emotions, even micro-reactions. The only way to preserve freedom is to have alternative documents or ways to move outside official channels. Your digital shadow will be your chain. Every like, every face scan, every smart device adds a brick to the wall around you. To survive, you need to learn to be invisible. Turn off trackers, avoid mass networks, minimize digital traces. Your thoughts will become a product. In the new order, they will not sell goods. They will sell emotions, behavior, reactions. To resist, you need to build autonomous thinking. Train the ability to see beyond imposed models. Salvation maps. This is not a metaphor. These are real routes, schemes, protocols that were developed by groups of independent researchers and whistleblowers back in the 2010s. They include networks of autonomous settlements hidden from digital monitoring, devices for local communication outside the internet, mesh networks, skills for direct resource extraction without centralized supplies, old methods of navigation and communication that have lost popularity but have now become invaluable. Most importantly, anyone who prepares in advance has a chance to preserve freedom, not by fighting the system directly, but by becoming invisible to it. Critical deadlines: 2025, full implementation of digital ID in the US under the pretext of simplifying access to government services. 2026, the beginning of the gradual shutdown of cash payments in large cities. November 2026. The first wave of elite disappearances as part of the Elysium transition. July 2027. Activation of the full Bloom protocol via the seat. If by July 2027, you are completely dependent on digital infrastructure, your freedom will already be a virtual illusion. What are the signs that the Bloom phase has begun in your region? Accelerated updating of laws without public discussion. The emergence of new, mandatory applications for access to services. Anonymous charitable programs for collecting DNA. A sharp increase in the number of low-power satellite dishes on roofs. Constant security updates of devices without the ability to reject them. If you see at least 3 signs, it's time to act immediately. And remember the main thing. Freedom will no longer be a gift. It will become a personal skill. Only those who realize the reality of what is happening will be able to pass through it. Everyone else will remain in a new digital paradise, built underground and above ground, but without the right to their own will. Warning, 2 out of 27, the last signal. Remember this moment. Everything you heard today is not a prediction. It is a plan. In March 2027, a series of anomalies will begin in the skies above the United States, explained by official sources as atmospheric, ionospheric disturbances. You will be assured that this is due to solar activity. You will be reassured by articles about solar flares and magnetic storms. But in reality, this will be the first external symptom, the activation of the total control system. The satellite clusters of the Arc-9 orbital network will create the finest electromagnetic field network. It will cover the entire territory of the United States, not for observation, but for influencing the biochemistry of the brain. It is when thousands of people start complaining about strange dreams, insomnia for no reason, sudden emotional outbursts, loss of sense of time. A hidden program of soft implantation of new patterns of thinking will start to operate. This will happen without violence, without soldiers, without tanks on the streets. You will simply change without even understanding how. What will happen next? By autumn 2027, unified standards of civil compliance will be introduced. If your digital activity is unstable, access to resources will be limited. Shops, medicine, money transfers, travel, everything will be tied to your behavioral model, not to the law, not to the court, to how correctly you think. And there will be the final signal. At the moment of full activation of the seed system through the seat, there will be a global reset of old digital archives. All your past statements, purchases, likes, mistakes, and thoughts will be combined into one score, the loyalty index. And one day, you will wake up and your phone will show you access limited, movement requires additional approval, account under review, and you will not have the opportunity to dispute this, because the judges will not be people. The judges will be algorithms. Your actions will not be considered. They will be assessed by schemes that do not need to understand who you are. This is not a warning about the future. This is a reminder. The reboot has begun. The portal is open, and you can either be its prisoner or be the one who walks along the edge unnoticed. There will be no third option. And the last, when you see a strange light over the White House in the summer of 2027, when you hear the news about unexplained changes in the atmosphere, when you feel like reality has shifted a little, remember, this is not an accident. This is a signal for them and for you. The only question is, will you have time to leave before the doors close completely?